Welcome back for another video. I'm Ehabed, a free-to-play endgame player in Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to take a look at Hard Doom Tower 3 Secret Room 5. Force Defense Champions only. In this room there are a number of different champions I think you can use. They're kind of... The general concept is you're looking for some form of crowd control and some form of sustain. In terms of the sustain champions, most people use Rain Beast, and people have asked me, how do you clear this without Rain Beast? I'd say there's two reasonable candidates. One is Romero, and two is Rearguard. In this composition, I'm going to use both of them. Burangiri here is going to help us on the CC side of things. We could also use someone like Broodlord, who has a AoE stun at a 50% chance. Burangiri has a stun at a 60% chance. Speaking of Burangiri, actually, is mine even booked? Because we're middle of CVC, so if he's not booked, I'm going to throw some books at him right now. Skills, he is booked, yeah, and he's in Reflex. So, I digress. We're basically looking at three main areas. One being some form of sustain and healing. So here we're going to use Romero and Rearguard. We could also use Rain Beast, but I don't have one built. I'll include my vault. You can see we actually have a fairly broad selection of force-based defense champions within my roster that we could use. But, I'm going to try and keep this as budget-friendly and accessible as possible. We'll use Drexar and Razin, Permanent Fusion and TTA Bazaar Champion, so everyone can get these two legendaries. Razin provides phenomenal control via his A3 100% TM drop, which gives us more time to cycle around, more time to get damage out. We also have Drex here, who will provide a good amount of damage. If we have decrease attack out, if we have HP burnout, he will provoke at 100%. So it's not 100. It's not like super consistent. He does have a decent chance to provoke even without the HP burns out there. So between him and Burangiri and Razin, we have a reasonable chance of crowd controlling. If you don't have Burangiri, like I said, Broodlord is another option. Also, Oathbound actually provides reasonable utility in this regard. We have a 4-time random on the A3. Now this is quite nice because of the blocked active skills goes to 100% if they have decreased attack on them. And obviously we have Rearguard who can put decreased attack out there. We also have people like Van Gaal who can put decreased attack on an AoE basis. There's a few other force defense champions that can put decrease attack out, which enable us to then make this a more reliable form of soft CC. And we have an AoE on the A2, which also actually creates his own decrease attack with a TM drop. And he has a freeze on the A1, which is actually, when booked, a reasonably high chance of freeze. So Oathbound in a stun set provides a lot of crowd control between TM depletion, block active skills, and the freeze on the A1. I have used him in that CC slot a few times in the past, and it works fine. So I'd give a notable call out to Kantra. You can put out a lot of debuffs on an AoE basis and has this chance of provoking when enemies, at the start of enemies' turns, when they have a lot of debuffs out there. So if you have Kantra and a couple of other AoE debuffers in your team, Kantra will take a lot of provokes, will cast a lot of provokes on the enemy, and it gives you a good chance of keeping them controlled at all times. And one other champion I'd say is phenomenally good for this room would be Sepulchre Sentinel. I've only recently pulled her, so I haven't actually built mine up yet, but the A2 on Sepulchre is really good for this room. Obviously increased defense helps in terms of you mitigating damage, but also outputting damage, as all your champions are defense based, and block debuffs means that we can avoid taking debuffs ourselves. If you don't have Sepulchre and you are finding you're taking debuffs and that's causing problems, Helior can come in, and he can be a reasonable form of DPS, but he also has the ability to cleanse your team on the A3 and give a reasonable shield to help you mitigate some damage with an AoE hit on the A2. So he can work, but he's not perfect for this run by any stretch of the imagination. Alright, so let's get into the run and see how it plays out. Right then, so we'll just start off A1 with the Romero, try and get the stuns out from Burengiri. Try and get additional CC out from Drex. The reason I'm doing that is I know we're going to have time to cycle back round, and I just wanted to get everyone debuffed as much as possible. Use Razin to drop their TM so we have additional time to cause damage to the opposition. Right, try and get the HP burns out with Drexar. Try and drop some defense with Rearguard Sergeant. Now we have the ability to drop defense with Razin instead. Try and focus down at least one of them as quickly as possible. In Nazana, who is currently not crowd controlled, which is a bit annoying. Get a continuous heal up. Try and get some more stuns. Try and get some more provokes. Get a little shield up to try and get a bit of ally protection, another continuous heal because we're going to take a bit of a hit there. Then try and get some damage on that War Chief. Razin's in lifesteal, so he can take the bit of damage, reflect damage, without too much problem. Heal up my rear guard. Worried about Razin here. Don't want him to get the TM drop on me. Go for another provoke here, as we need to survive to the next wave. Get another continuous heal and ally protection. More damage on the War Chief. Get another continuous heal out. Should be enough to get a nice bit of healing there. And again, heal up rearguard. Keep stacking these continuous heals across the board. Try and get their Drex down. Save my abilities for the next wave, and we should see this wave out. Once again, we're going to be looking to do the same thing. One thing of interest here is that Skullcrusher will cause problems, as he, each time he takes a turn, shrugs off one turn of duration of each debuff. He's quite hard to actually keep crowd controlled, and he will get his buffs on everyone else, including counterattack, which is a real nightmare, to be honest. Again, we'll go in for the provoke, we'll drop the TM, so we definitely want to be killing Skullcrusher first in this instance. This is where someone like Oathbound would come in really handy, as with him you can lock out Skullcrusher's skills, which is particularly good. We'll get allied protection and continuous heal up, because we're going to take an AoE hit from our friend Drex, unless we got the provoke off with Burengiri. There you go, allied protection, counter attack. Now with Kantra, you would be able to steal their buffs. With Kantra, you'd be able to potentially have AoE block buffs on them to reduce the amount of counter attacks they have. Since we're trying to run this Kantra-less, we're going to have to go for the other way, which is to try and steal them with Razin. Or not steal them, but remove them with Razin. You see, their Razin removed all 3 on me, my Razin removed 0 on them. So in the meantime, we're going to have to focus purely on Skullcrusher, who doesn't have counterattack. With my Drex, I actually don't mind taking the counterattack, so I'm going to put the AoE Provoke out there. He can take some pain, he's well built, very tanky. So now we're in a position where we really need to start healing up. Slightly dangerous with both our 2 level 50 champions here. We'll see if we can do it anyway. But it was a bit of a pain to lose Romero there. Definitely not ideal. Get the continuous heals out again. Try and get some stuns out. Try and heal rearguard. Again, try and get the provokes out. This time we'll put the strength and the shield up. To try and reduce the damage we're all taking. So this is going to be hard because Romero went down. And this is the problem when you're trying to do it with multiple 50s. Is you're not giving yourself much room for margin for error. But we're not out yet. We're still in. I think we'll have to go for the stun approach. Try and get the heals up. Should get through to the last wave. Now it's just whether we can make this work. So the big issue here is Sepulchre. If she gets her A2 off and they get block debuffs out and increased defense, it's basically very difficult to recover from. So we'll open with our usual thing of get the provokes out. Drop the TM. I'm actually going to save the stun this time. I'm going to try and get HP burn on Sepulchre. I want to get her down first and foremost. Try and get some heal out. Now we will still let these 3 provokes come off, get the HP burns. Look for someone who is not burnt. At this point, continue trying to focus fire Sepulchre. Now we'll try and get the stuns. 2, we did manage to stun Sepulchre. Now we can try the provoke again, got a clean sweep. We should be able to get Sepulchre down now. Strengthen up, continuous heal, ally protection, and again try and ensure that the burns are across the board. this point, my next biggest concern is probably Oathbound. I don't want my skills to be blocked. That would be problematic. Try and get HP burns out across the board. Focus fire on Oathbound, who has decreased defense. Try and get another decreased defense out there, this time on Rain Beast. Again, we'll go for the provoke. We can hold back the stun because we've got provoke on all four. We can drop the TM to ensure that we have crowd control for longer, ally protection, and continuous heal to keep everyone healthy. We've got 2 drop defenses out already. We'll add one onto Lich. Again, we can hold back on the stun in case it's required. So you can see, like, really this is built around Razin and Drex, and then the other 3 champions are just there to support those 2 champions. They really do all the work. Try and get the stun out. And we're nearly there. Just a few more turns. Go for the provoke again. Couple more. Few more A1s and we'll be there. And there we go. Job done. We even lost Romero midway through wave 2. But we carried on, and we still got it done. It shows that you don't need to have a full team. They don't all need to be built brilliantly either. You can make it work as long as you have a good composition. A couple of sustain champions, in this instance, Rearguard and Romero, both providing good sustain for our team. A couple of control champions with DPS, so we got Drex and Razin, the primary DPS champions in this, with Drex, Razin and Burangiri all providing good crowd control. Like I mentioned, in Burangiri's slot we could use many other champions. They all do work. I have cleared it with Oathbound, I have cleared it with Kantra. I haven't done it with Broodlord yet or Sepulchre because mine aren't built up, but they're providing very similar kits, so there's absolutely no reason you couldn't make it work. If we hop over to our champions and take a look at the builds, my Drex is extremely well built. I've soloed floor 120 Frost Spider in DT1, which I've showcased on this channel. You guys have seen it. You don't need Drexar to be built as well as this to clear this room. Having a good high effective HP is definitely important. Doesn't need to be particularly fast. You don't need the level of resist and accuracy I have here, although as you saw in that run, having decent resist on Drex does help. You could use a resistance lead as well. Someone like Burangiri has a resistance lead, and there are others that do. For instance, Helia also has a resistance lead, so you could go for that approach. There's nothing stopping you from doing so. But to quickly go back to Drexar, that is all you really need, is have a high effective HP and enough accuracy to land your debuffs. The rest is just gravy. You know, it's just icing on the cake. You don't need it, but it's nice to have. I have mine in lifesteal. It has a way of healing back through Giant Slayer hits. Obviously mine is booked, other than the A1 that's not finished, but the passive and the A2 are booked. The A2 is really useful here. 60% chance to provoke, which goes up to 100% if they're under an HP burn. You saw we got a lot of provokes off. It's extremely good for this secret room. I cannot stress enough how good Drexar is for this room. And for a lot of Doom Tower, to be honest. I have mine in Giant Slayer, largely for the boss killing that I've shown in many areas. And even haven't finished the masteries fully, but Sniper is extremely important on Drexar as well, both for the A1 and the passive. Right, if we go to Razin, mine is built in Lifesteal, back from when I used to use him in Clan Boss. You can see I've only got a level 8 ring on him at the moment. I can't remember who, I think Ramantu stole his ring. So Razin's just having to make do with sloppy seconds now. Speed, pretty slow, my Razin. He was basically speed tuned for Clan Boss and hasn't been touched since. In Lifesteal, because I used to run a classic counter-attack Clan Boss team in Lifesteal. Good defense levels, okay HP, 100% crit, okay amount of crit damage. It's not great, and enough accuracy to be landing the debuffs. But this really isn't that strong a build. I could easily rebuild Razin, make him better, put out more damage, etc. But I don't need to, so why bother? Rearguard, also used to using Rearguard, I also used to use in Clan Boss, hence also in Lifesteal, and also relatively slow for a bit more of a Clan Boss counter-attack speed tune. Very high defense on my Rearguard. You don't really need to stack as high as this, but it does help to have a high effective HP pool for anyone you're using ally protection on. So, that's kind of the consideration in this build. We have enough accuracy to land the debuffs, but honestly, actually, there's only one debuff that matters from her, which is the A1 decreased defense, and this is a little bit low, but it just about gets the job done. I probably should tweak the build at some point, but I don't really use Rearguard for anything other than this secret room. So what else to say? Skills are booked. Masteries are done because I used to use Rearguard in Clan Boss, but you don't really need them for this secret room. Burungiri, no masteries. Skills are done. I'm running mine in Reflex at the moment. Not a nothing build really. 30k HP, nearly 3k defense with enough accuracy. I mean, it's a decent build for a level 50, but if you actually ranked Burungiri up to level 60, you could exceed these stats very easily. And to be honest, Burungiri is a good champion with strengthen on the A3, which definitely helps you mitigate the damage. A good chance AoE stun on the A2, 60% is pretty high on the epic side. It's a good stun, and a provoke on the A1, which we saw came in handy every now and then in that run. Also good for faction wars, a good crowd control champion for the faction wars. So the utility from Burungiri, that's why I would recommend him as one of the control champions more than the other force defense, because of the extra utility you get with him being useful in faction wars. Romero, not a great champion. For those who have followed my my channel or my interviews with Hell Hades will know that Romero was one of the first healers I pulled on this account, and I ended up having to use him at level 50 for me to be able to farm Minnow. I didn't buy masteries on any champions, so I actually farmed Minnow for my first champion to have set of masteries, so I ended up with Romero having nearly finished masteries, just because it was the only way I could get masteries on the other 4 champions that I cared about. So he's been on my account really from very early days, and I've never had the heart to crunch him, basically. Not been booked at all. Probably would benefit from it, particularly if I actually wanted to use him even in the secret room a bit more. The cooldowns unbooked are pretty long. And at level 60 you would probably find it easier to stay alive because he's not particularly well built either. Similar to the Burungiri, around 30k HP, nearly 3k defense. I've actually got him in a retaliation set, on the idea that he'll get the small continuous heal A1. If he happens to get hit, he has a chance of getting the counter, but to be honest, it's not really worth it. I think if I wanted to use him in this secret room and actually build him purposely for it, I would probably either go reflex or relentless. I think would both be better, or even just put him in a regen set so he's able to stay alive himself, unlike the run I just showed you, and actually help the team out throughout the fight rather than just dying. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely room for improvement on that build. Oathbound I've used a lot in Faction Wars. I think I actually showed him in my budget Faction War guide to Bannerlords. In a stun set, I think he's really useful. Mine is booked. I found it kind of the most consistent way I could keep the right ad crowd controlled in Faction War 21 was to book Oathbound. This was obviously before Archmage Helmet existed, but Archmage just does it better by far. So, you know, I highly recommend building Archmage for that faction. No masteries done, just in a stun set. A fairly mediocre build, but I have cleared this secret room with this build before. Obviously, not phenomenally good effective HP, so you really have to try and keep those enemies crowd controlled in such a way that you're diverting damage away from these level 50s as much as possible. Right, I hope this has been helpful for you. It's a little bit rushed. We're in the middle of CVC. I got back from holiday Sunday night. It's been super busy at work, so I really haven't had the time to kind of put into planning the video and thinking about ahead of time like what I wanted to say and making sure it comes across in a coherent fashion. So unlike some of the other videos, this has very much been thrown together. I wanted to make sure I got it out before the end of the Doom Tower, which, you know, ends in 1 day, 15 hours. So hopefully I can quickly knock out the edit on this, get it uploaded tonight, at least give you guys a chance to use this guide to clear the Doom Tower before it resets. As always, I've gone 12 for 12. I haven't really been pushing down the turn count this one or last one, to be honest. Both Doom Tower 2 and Doom Tower 3, I was too busy throughout February and March to really put any effort into it after I made that big push in Doom Tower 1. But I continued to get all the floors and all the secret rooms done. And, you know, if there are specific secret rooms that are causing you guys trouble, please, you know, mention it on YouTube or hit me on Discord on Hell Hades Room, and I'll try and make sure I get a guide done to that specific secret room to try and help you guys clear it. I know this Force Defense was requested whilst I was on holiday, and I said I'd get it done as soon as I got back. It's taken me a couple of days, but hopefully not too late, and it'll help you clear it before Doom Tower resets. Right, you know, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.